Good morning, everyone. In this video, we're going to kind of talk about using WinOls to tune your ALH. There are other software programs that you can use, but I prefer WinOls. It seems to work best for what I want to do. You can get away for the most part with using, VDC Suite, EDC Suite, VAG EDC Suite, any of the other ones. But again, this, for the purpose of this video, this is going to be how to use WinOls. Just so you're aware, throughout the video, I'm going to be blurring certain things. A lot of people have sent me tunes to be able to help them out, and I don't want to betray their trust. So their names and the tunes that I have on the EC or on the PC are not going to be visibly blurred out. Additionally, you can't see the bottom part of the screen because that gives you the addresses of where the maps are, at least for the FD and GN ECUs that I use. Technically used for all of them, but that's the one we're going to go over is the FD and GN. So when you first open this up, you're going to want to open up a new file. You're going to want to import the file that you're going to be messing with. What a lot of people end up doing is taking off their tunes from the ECUs and trying to modify, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But we'll kind of go over that. So we're going to go to Project, we're going to go to New, we're going to go to File, and we're going to open up a binary file. So a binary file is just a basic file. OLS file, again, as you progress with messing with WinOls, if you go to ECU connections, you'll find OLS files, which are actually projects, which have maps and everything in there. But for the purpose, again, we're just going to open a new binary file. So we're going to open up this one right here. Ignore that. We'll explain that here in a second. So if we click on this, it's going to say this software version cannot be processed since it's already been modified. The reason that I use older versions of WinOls is because it allows me to open up these files. This is just called a no-read, and with newer versions of WinOls, they actually have an encryption that locks it into the original tuner. There are ways to bypass it, and it is feasible to do it, but it's more of a pain in the butt than anything else. So instead of doing that, I just use this old version, which again works perfectly fine for me. So we'll click OK on this one. We'll close this out. And then we're going to open this thing called HXD, which is a hex editor, right? So if I open up the file, that's called no read, right? Right there. We're going to see there's a bunch of hexadecimal gibberish. We have no idea what's going on, right? If we clicked Control F, which is search, and look for read, we'll find where it says no read. So this is what's keeping us from being able to actually open the file. So all we have to do is go like this, and then we save the file. That file has been saved. And now when we go to open it, new, we go back to the same folder, we will find that this is the original now, because it's called a BAK, which is a backup file, and then we have the one that we've removed the read from. So if we click on this, click open, we're going to ignore this because I do have a bunch of maps. This is of course one of my my tunes. Click on OK. This is going to say we have checksums, a whole 9 yards. You got to make sure you verify checksums before you flash an ECU. Click OK. Then it brings up this where you can kind of name it whatever you want to. So we're going to call it test tune for YouTube. And I always do this, test tune for YouTube. And it tells you what the ECU is, the ECU number, the whole 9 yards. Again, nothing really important here, but we click on OK. So now we have our file opened up into WinOls. Now with this, it's going to try to identify some maps, which is great. At the same time, it's not good because it doesn't tell us what they are, but it does attempt it, right? So sometimes if you're looking for a map and you can't find it, you might be able to find it here. In addition, instead of just using WinOls, if you use EDC Suite or something like that, you open up the file, you might be able to find the addresses there and transfer those over into WinOls, right? So the big important things here that we're going to have to deal with is we're going to have to go with the data bits. So normally it's either 8 or 16. I normally switch to 16, and then you have 255, FF, and 11111. So it tells you what they are: hexadecimal decimal, hexadecimal decimal. I have no idea what the last one is. But anyways, we will use that in certain things as well too. But I go 16-bit 255, and that kind of gives me everything, right? If we open this up, we can adjust this left and right depending on how much we want to see. This is our addresses over here on the left-hand side, and this is the data inside the tune. Now, if we go down, you can't really see it, but on the right-hand side, let me minimize this a little bit so you can see it. So you can see down here, we have data that looks to be maps that have been identified, right? And if we scroll down, we'll find, again, these maps that are right here in potential, and they say, hey, this could be a map if you want to identify it. In this case, we're not going to. What we're going to do is we're actually going to import one of my map packs that I made specifically for this. It's the same one that I use on my tune files. So to import anything, you can import map packs, which are KP files. You can import maps from different tunes that you have within your folders, I guess is the best way to say it. So all these that you can't see down here, all those have maps on them. But if you want to import a map pack, we're going to export it, import. We're going to import a map pack. We're going to go to the exact same folder that I made, video KP. That's a KP file. Open that up. So offset, we'll talk about that later. We're not worried about that here. The way I have this made is you basically import it, and it gives you everything you could potentially need. All right. So as we see here, we have boost. So another thing. So my ECUs have 3 maps in them. Normally they're just 2. It's the auto and the manual, right? I have the 3rd one because I run a Tangent Motorsports tune file that allows me to actually switch on the fly. So that's that. So now we have all these maps that have been identified, right? And I have them labeled, and they say exactly what they are, and you know, in each code block. So we have the 4x4 code block, the auto code block, and the manual code block. So just for purposes of looking at things, we can kind of look at, let's say, the boost target. So we can view that in the hex dump, and it takes us there. You get a basic idea of where it is based on that. So if we click on that, this is my boost target map, right? And if we right-click on this and go to properties, this is how you kind of identify everything within this particular map, right? So our values, this is a 16-bit map as opposed to, let's say, the single value boost limiter, which would more than likely be an 8-bit map, right? So you would change those if you need to. This is a lot to take in, but it is overwhelming. So the description of this is airflow, right? That's the unit of measurement. This is the unique identifier from Volkswagen. So if you were to look up this in a Google search, it basically identifies, you know, the boost target map in any ECU. So when you look at what's called a Damos file would, if you're it's going to be in German. If you look up this thing, you'll find where your boost target is. It'll be in German. You rename it, call it boost target, and we're good to go. Okay, so start address, again, 7654C, columns and rows, 10 and 16. Factor offset. So on some things, there's going to be an offset from what the ECU is displaying to what you're seeing. So if you were to look at the N146, which is the fuel map table, right? It's not going to be a 1 to 0, a 1.0 to 1 ratio. It's going to be a little bit different. That's why when you look at an EDC 15 suite, and here it's going to be a little bit different. Let's just go to that one for shits and giggles because that'll help things. So N146, we'll go to properties. All right, so you can see with the pump voltage, right, it's a factor of 1.221001. So that tells me that 1.22101 shows this number how it is, right? Now, if you wanted to, let's say you wanted to make this 2 decimal points, right? So let's say 15.53. We would change this factor by 0.0 and delete that, hit OK, and then my fault, we would go precision 2, and now we have 15.53, right? So this is technically wrong. It should be 1.641. So let's go back to that, and we'll do, oh, my fault. So that should be correct. Yeah, so there we go. So these pumps can put out roughly, 5 volts. So this is how much pump voltage is going in. This is an original file. This isn't tuned by anyone. So you could see that at 4494 RPM, you can see this is revolutions per minute. This is milligrams per stroke. At 4494 RPM and above, to the limiter, you're putting 4.6 volts of a possible 5 volts. This is identified as 51 milligrams per stroke, right? So as we increase from the RPM, the pump voltage is going up to a theoretical 5 if we wanted to, plus or minus a little bit. So you can see I made the adjustment there, and now it's red. All right, so we'll go back in here. So we have the x-axis, which is the injection quantity, and then we have the y-axis, which is RPM. I do it my way. Sometimes, these axes will be different. If you want to, you can just swap axes. And now you can see that this is going in the wrong direction. This is 44, 4,500 RPM and 51 at the bottom. I don't like that. So we can go to properties. We can go here. We can mirror the maps. And now they should be right? So 0 to 0 to 4,500. And it's showing us the exact same thing, except the axes have been swapped. All right, so that's that when it comes to, all right, so let's kind of, we can discuss my KP file, which will be released eventually, right? So if you look right here, you see these little blocks on the right. So for boost, you can kind of see where it says that, but if you right click on it to the properties, go to the comment section. So since I run 4-bar map sensors, I change all 3 of these, message A, B, and C, to 008, and then 162 is the, I think, boost correction by temperature. No, that's not right. Boost diagnostic factor. So that's the one I would change to, and you can see they're all mentally retarded. You can see all 4 of those have those little indicators. So on my KP file, I do give tips and tricks and hints on how to do things. Same thing, we're not going to do the dual map sensor, electric actuator. So we were talking about this up here, this 11111. So if we open this and read my comments, it'll say that you need to change it either to FF or 111. That's going to be, it's a lot. Trust me, it's a lot. So, or it could be DFC4, which is this right here. We need to change it to EFC4. It's easier, it's better to do it this way with the 111, and I'll show it here in a second, than doing it the other way. So if you're changing it to this and that doesn't work, you might need to change it to FFC4. So if we go here, and we go, which one was that right here? Let's go here, let's say view and hex dump. All right, so now we can see it says 57284, right? That's the invert frequency for the N75. If we change it to here, now we can see all the numbers like what I was showing you here on the bottom right, right? So if I wanted to change it, I could do it that way. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you need to actually extend it all the way out and change those numbers to get that to particularly work. Based on what I can recall currently as I'm doing this video, I think the electric actuator is really the only thing that needs to extend out. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does, but just as an idea, that might be something that you have to do. All right, so we'll go through boost. So we have single value boost limiter, we have max negative boost offset for fault control, limit upper threshold for turbo boost. I mean, you can read all this stuff. We're not doing dual map sensors. So we have the electric actuator, we have the idles, right? we have the IMMO, the ability to disable the IMMO from the tune, so you don't have to disable it inside the ECU, EEPROM, so you still have a VIN visible on VCDS. The nice thing with that is that it seems like OBD11 responds quicker when it has a VIN. Additionally, because my Tangent Motorsports tune is locked to a particular VIN, I basically need to have that VIN number available in my ECU. All right, maps, launch control, driver switch, inverse driver switch, start IQ. EGR switch, we know what that is. Turbo control, that's to turn on wastegate versus VNT. Left foot brake switch, common sense, N146 is pump. Map linearization, that's for your map sensor if you're running a 2.5, 3 bar, 4 bar, 6 bar, whatever it might be. N108 control map. Then we have the smoke maps. We have the start of injection. So that's basically everything that I feel I need to adjust my tunes. All right, so now one of the last things I'm going to do with kind of Winolds, you're going to have to play around with this, but one of the last things we kind of want to do is kind of identifying codes, right? So let's say, for example, we had a code that we wanted to disable. This thing should have highlights in it. All right, so let's say we wanted to disable this code, the EGR valve circuit open short to ground. So the VAG code is 17849, right? So we would come here, we would search for byte sequencer text, and I forgot the code I was just looking up. Getting old sucks. 17849. So if I click on 17849, I can click on OK and it'll close the window out, or I can click on Write. All right, so right here, 17849 is one of the codes I want to disable, right? This is going to be in one map. All right, so this is an automatic. Click on it again. Do you want to search from the beginning? Click on yes. So this is the manual map. So I've addressed this in another video, how you would disable this code. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to delete that grayed area by hitting the delete button. We're going to change this value to 65535 and this value to 0. And so right now, if there are no more of these 17849s within the ECU, within the manual map, if I save the file and export it, this code is going to be disabled. So I think that's kind of it.